If the GOP wants to win, they need to learn how to fight back, and they owe it to their constituents and the country. Joining us now, an elected official who isn't afraid to fight back from the great state of Florida, of course, Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, thanks so much for being on the Benny Report.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I think most people don't know, Benny, you are literally the first person I met when I moved to Washington, D.C., So thanks for all the advice you've given me over the years. I think you're right that there is an establishment that is reconstituting right now in the Republican Party. They hope we can go back to the days before Donald Trump, where we put the lobbyists and special interests in charge. And really this primary election season beginning in Texas in March and then going through Florida, New Hampshire in August will really define that spirit and that fight that we will bring to, I think, a Republican majority, at least in the House.
That's right, Matt. We just did a segment in our open where we asked the members of the Republican Senate, Republican members of the U.S. Senate, whether they condemn the police actions and brutality going on against journalists and freedom-loving patriots in Canada. And the vast majority of them didn't even get back with us or condemn it at all. There was nothing on their social media. Everyone was completely silent while there were literal terror actions going on against a peaceful protest on our continent in a country that shares a 5,000-mile border with us. It seems like the Republican Party is wildly out of step with the desires and the energy of their constituents. Are we wrong?
I think that there are many Americans who wish that there were any party that would fight for them and take on their battles. And certainly you're right, what we've seen north of our border really excites a lot of people's interest in this struggle that exists between liberty and medical tyranny. And it's a struggle playing out still in the towns and in the states in our country. You know, we've got a crisis on our southern border. We've got freedom being squelched at our northern border. And it seems that the Republicans in the Senate are most concerned about what's going on Ukraine's border, of all places. And I think that those battles closer to home do matter to our fellow Americans a great deal more.
Yeah, so it's like a big ice cream sandwich, and the mushy middle is establishment conservatives who have no spine and no and stand for absolutely nothing. That's not the case in Florida. I think a lot of people watching are like Matt Gaetz, Ron DeSantis. People in Florida, they're bred different. They know how to fight. How do more states and more Republicans behave like the Republicans and the fighters in Florida?
It's the mosquitoes. They toughen us. We have to battle them each and every day. No, in Florida, we've had the benefit of unified Republican control of the government since really the mid-90s. And so it's a case study in low taxes, in accommodating regulation, in investment in our schools, and utilizing our schools to actually teach kids, not engage in social justice wars. And I think that's resulted in just a great deal of prosperity for our people. And that's why so many folks are choosing to move to the state of Florida. We do have a problem in the National Republican Party that I think is driven by how we finance elections specifically. If you go behind the scenes at a lot of the meetings with Republicans, it's all about how we can get the Fortune 100 companies giving to our campaigns again through political action committees. Now, you know that I'm the only Republican in the House of Representatives who takes no money from PACs, no money from federal lobbyists. And I think if we liberate ourselves from that, we'll actually have a closer connection to the people who fight for us each and every day, stuffing the envelopes, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls, and doing the voter contact that is necessary to regain power. If we regain power, there are some Republicans who say, well, that'll be the opportunity to work with the Biden administration. Some running for office have even said that already. I think it's an opportunity to engage in robust oversight. Every single committee in the Congress should have an investigation to run. The Education Committee should be looking at critical race theory in our schools. The Commerce Committee should be looking at the abuses of big tech. The Judiciary Committee should be looking at the abuses at the FBI and the Department of Justice. And if we took that approach, we would actually connect the pain that our people are feeling with the policies and actions of a corrupt Biden administration. And then we could actually return to the White House, get control of these agencies, and finish the swamp draining that President Trump began.
That's what people want. People don't want to side with who they view as their political enemies, people that are trying to destroy this nation. It's a big country. It's a big party. And you and I both lived in Washington, D.C. I mean, you're bound to have some friends that are Democrats that might work for the Democrat Party. But there is a specific class of leftists that wishes to destroy this nation. I don't want to commune with those people. I don't want to hang out with them. I don't want to work on a better country with those people, because they're actively trying to burn the house down that we all live in. And so when Donald Trump was elected president, you didn't hear Nancy Pelosi coming out saying, I can't wait to work with Donald Trump. The first thing she said is, we are going to obstruct. Why is it always the Republicans that are having to meet in the middle?
I think that it's largely driven by money. I think that the same political action committees fund the campaigns on both sides. And so for too many political generations in Washington, D.C., the party in power is merely the lead valet for the special interests that are funding both sides. But Donald Trump changed that because he started that small dollar donor giving with a lot of our activists, with a lot of people who care about the country, frankly, with a lot of people who didn't care about politics at all. So the question is who we will make union with. And I think we make union with those brave Americans who are out there resisting mandates, who are showing up at school board meetings because they love their kids, and not make union with those very people who would be after our scalps if they had power, and would be doing so at the behests of the special interests that run the country. And the operative question is just how you think about America. I think about America as the greatest country in the world and a country that should succeed. But increasingly, the very leftists you reference, they view America as an intractably racist, irredeemable place, and they would be happy if America failed so that they could rebuild the socialist utopia that they, I guess, had a chance at operating at the Chaz in Seattle. That didn't end up so well for them. But increasingly, the policies that are destroying blue states and blue cities are the policies that they want to enact. And if we allow that to happen, it may be too late.
Congressman, you mentioned something early in this block that I thought was fascinating and so prescient. And it is about CHOP. It is about our southern border, our northern border. It seems like the only border that anyone in Washington is obsessed with is Ukraine's border, 5,000 miles away. That has nothing to do with us at all. It's not our country. It's not where I was born. I don't actually care. I don't care because our border is in crisis. Chop and Chaz was an independent nation started in a Democrat city. They didn't seem to care about that. Why? This is so damaging. Why?
Remember when we did the analysis in the phony Ukraine impeachment, we saw that Ukraine was the third most corrupt country in the world. It is essentially a global money laundering enterprise. And there are a lot of American elites, globalist elites, who want to maintain Ukraine as a place to launder money and engage in corrupt acts. And so they care deeply for it. Now, I don't think that Putin is our friend. I don't think that he is our partner in a great deal of global affairs. But I do think that this obsession about containing Putin sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of conflict. I mean, Putin invaded Crimea during the Obama presidency. Then we heard that Trump was a Russian agent, that I was Putin's lawyer. It was all nonsense. Putin was contained during the era of Trump, and now during the weakness of the Biden administration, he's engaged in some of his old tricks again. I don't think this should be our obsession. I don't think that Ukraine is one of the first 100 things that even 10 of my constituents think about when they wake up in the morning, but it is a focus of a lot of these globalist elites who want to utilize Ukraine as a tool for money laundering, and that's why so many people in Washington care.
That's right, Matt. We just need some more. You and I need some cokehead kids that can't get jobs, respectable companies, and we can just send them to Ukraine. They can rake in the millions. That is a real fantastic deal. I think that's exactly what the point is. Thank you, Congressman, so much for joining us on this segment.